my first name. So
that's nice. That's nice. Yeah. No, Mataji is always there. We really miss her classes, Prabhuji. If you can convey to her that we really miss her association and classes. She gave wonderful classes on this forum. But before I say anything else, I'm going to hand over the call to you and go ahead, Prabhuji, take over the class. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. You can hear me, right?
Yes, we can hear you.
But you can't see me yet.
No.
You can start your video if you want.
To do here.
Also, like Prabhuji can be made the host as a co-host.
Yeah, it's making.
But video, he can also start without being co-host, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Anybody can start the video. Yeah.
All right, I'm just trying to figure out to get the video to work. 1 second.
Yeah. Bottom you can
so I had
Your co-host Prabhuji now.
I got lost here. Yeah. Can you see me now? No.
Not yet.
Not yet. On the bottom bar, there is a camera sign, Prabhuji. You can click on that.
Yeah. There's something that's pushing to start the video.
Okay. Laptop, you are Prabhuji?
We're just trying to get the video to come on. My wife is. We're looking. There we go.
You had it off.
You can see me and hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Let me get back to my seat.
A prominent tilak on you.
Actually, since I'm walking around the house, I'll just give you all a quick darshan of our temple room.
Wow. Haribo.
Haribo. Very nice.
Govinda, Jagannath Subhadra Baladev, and then we have Lakshmi Narayan, we have Shalagopan Narayan, we have Radhakanta, Gordachai, and this is Krishna Balaram. Very deities.
So beautiful.
We have
Very nice.
Haribol Prabhuji, very nice.
It's a black Balaram, Krishna Balaram, and Balaram is black in Vrindavan in one famous temple. Old. So this is also a black Balaram.
Oh, nice.
Wait.
We have.
Thank you for wonderful darshan, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
So I give you a quick vision of my temple room. All right.
Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. Now that we're back, so we'll begin Bhagavad Gita. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading second chapter, text 24. Achejo yam adayo yam aklejo sosha evacha nitya sarva gata stanur achalo yam sanatana. And the word for word is achejaha, unbreakable, ayam, this soul, adaya, unable to be burdened, ayam, this soul, aklejaha, insoluble, asosha, not able to be dried, eva, certainly, cha, and nitya, everlasting, sarvagata, all-pervading, stanuha, unchangeable, achala, immovable, ayam, this soul, sanatana, eternally the same. This individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble and can be neither burnt nor dried. He is everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same. Om Agana Timirandasha Gananjanan Salakaya Chaksu Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. All these qualifications of the atomic soul definitely prove that the individual soul is eternally the atomic particle of the spirit whole, and he remains the same atom eternally without change. The theory of monism is very difficult to apply in this case because the individual soul is never expected to become one homogeneously. After liberation from material contamination, the atomic soul may prefer to remain as a spiritual spark in the effulgent rays of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But the intelligent soul enters into the spiritual planets to associate with the personality of Godhead. So I'll just, there's two paragraphs, but I'll just make one comment on this, as we have a tendency to miss some of the points. So the whole soul has two choices. Prabhupada's making the point here. It can remain in the Brahmajyoti, the impersonal liberation. But then he says, but the intelligent souls enter into the spiritual planets to associate with the personality of Godhead. So there's two types of mukti. One is the monist and the impersonal conception, where one tries to merge, even though it's not a permanent situation. But here Prabhupada makes the point, the intelligent souls, those who are the bhaktas, the devotees of the Lord, they want to enter into where the personality of Godhead resides, either in the Vaikuntha planets or in Krishna Loka, depending on who you're attracted to and who you're worshiping. Even Bhagavad Gita says, even if you're worshiping the demigods, you go there. So whatever your attraction is, you'll end up there if you're qualified. Qualified means purified. Intelligent souls enter into the spiritual planets to associate with the personality of Godhead. Next paragraph, the word sarvagata, all-pervading, is significant because there is no doubt that living entities all over there are living entities all over God's creation. They live on the land, in the water, in the air, within the earth, and within the fire. The belief that they are sterilized in fire is not acceptable because it is clearly stated here that the soul cannot be burnt by fire. Therefore, there is no doubt that there are living entities also in the sun planet with suitable bodies to live there. If the sun globe is uninhabited, then the word sarvagata, living everywhere, becomes meaningless. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So here, this second paragraph focuses on one statement in this verse, sarvagata, all pervading. And Prabhupada's bringing up the point here that there are living entities in the water, in the sky, in the soil, and then in other planets. Particularly, he talks about the sun planet. Sun planet, of course, we know is fire. So we're thinking, the average scientist will think, or materially educated person, how is anyone going to live in the sun planet? They have suitable bodies to live there. We cannot live in the sun planet, nor can we even go there. Not in these bodies, but they have fiery bodies. It describes that the sun planet is a heavenly planet. So Krishna describes in the Bhagavad Gita, I first instructed the sun, this knowledge to the sun god Vivaswan, Evam Parampara Praptam Imam Rajarshio Vidu, that this Parampara was first brought to this universe to Vivaswan, the sun god. So Prabhupada describes there that Surya, or the sun god, or Surya Narayan, different ways to address him. And we all worship, those of us who have second initiation, we begin Savitor, Om Bhur Bhava Svatat Savitor, the sun, We are enlivened by the energy of the suns. And Prabhupada paraphrases that. He says the sun means Krishna because Krishna is the source of everything. So for us older students, we may think, oh, second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, I understand all this. I want to hear, some higher information. But we understand in preaching work that the non-devotee people, the average people we run into every day in our lives, are not advanced. And Prabhupada says very clearly that Krishna consciousness means Bhagavad Gita. When he meets important people, when he would meet the reporters, he would always speak from basic Bhagavad Gita. So I had the experience of not being brought up in Sanatana Dharma. So I was brought up in the Christian religion. And you'd be surprised to know that the Christian people and their teachings do not understand the soul. They have a confusion as to what is the body and what is the soul. It is not clear in their literatures exactly what is the soul. For us as Sanatan Dharmis, devotees, bhaktas, followers of Krishna and the Bhagavad Gita, here there's a number of verses. Krishna is describing what is the soul, what is the body, and what is the soul. The body is perishable, but the soul goes on forever. We're eternal. And here he's giving very simple instructions of the nature of the soul. It's unbreakable. It can't be drowned, insoluble, can't be diluted, can't be burnt nor dried. He is everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same. So there's very clear understanding. If you ever visit a Christian graveyard and you will read the gravestones, and quite often, we were just down in New Orleans for the Kirtan Festival. And we did stop in one of the famous New Orleans cemeteries. And all the old gravestones, they write resting, or they have the initials RIP, resting in peace. So what is their concept, resting? What are they resting for? What are they waiting for? In the Christian theology, they are waiting for resurrection, that God will come again, Jesus will come again, and will raise them up. But in the meantime, they're just in limbo, resting. So it's a very unscientific concept, because we understand that the body does deteriorate when it's buried, and after some time there's just dust. So exactly resting. We understand we are never resting. The soul is always active. And as soon as we are, and as we see in the purport here, not only are humans having soul, another misconception of other religions is that the animals, the insects, the fish, the birds, there's no soul. They don't have a soul. Only human beings have a soul, or are a soul. So, this people ask me why I became a devotee, because I would study these things and I would say, no, that doesn't make sense. And we would all have pets. Prabhupada said in America, everyone has one cat or dog. So, but people feel that the dog, they have some movies, all dogs go to heaven. They made Disney made movie, all dogs go to heaven. So people feel like that. When their dog dies, they lament. They say dog is best friend. But yet, philosophically, according to their scriptures, dog has no soul, cat has no soul, and whatever other pets people may have. But we can see practically that we have feelings, we feel pain, we have emotions. We eat, we sleep, we mate, we defend. The animals eat, sleep, mate, and defend. So what is the difference between us and the animals? Why doesn't the animal have a soul? So Vedic literature, Krishna explains very carefully the science of karma, that as we act, we will get a result from our activities. If we act piously, we'll get a better birth. We can go to the heavenly planets. Or if we're Krishna conscious, spiritually aware, we can return back to home, back to Godhead, back to the Vaikunthas, back to Krishna Loka. But the other religions of the world, of course, I'm not an expert on all religions. I'm more expert on Christianity because that was my background. There's no soul in them. But we say, if you are sinful, you'll take birth as a cat, a dog, a worm in the stool, 8 million species of life, and 400,000 species of humans. So Prabhupada was on a walk once, and the devotee asked, well, Prabhupada, it said that there are 400,000 human species. Can you explain this? Because I don't understand what are all these, what is human, so many human species. And Prabhupada, look around. You don't see different types of people, different races, different features. So Prabhupada was species, 400,000 species mean different races. So of course, on planet Earth, we don't have 400,000 races. We only have a handful. But we're talking about heavenly planets, the demigods, lower planets, the hellish planets, 400,000 types of human birth. There is. And so I was just reading the other day that it's very sinful to kill animals unnecessarily. Prabhupada explained, and a lot of people may not know this, that the animal or whatever, the insect or whatever it may be, the ant, devotees don't even step on ants. And there's a number of stories about not stepping on ants. But the ant, the animal, the bird, whatever species of living condition one may be in, you have a certain allotted amount of time to live in that body till there is a natural death. And then you progress to the next body. It's a gradual, and Prabhupada uses the term evolution, but it's not evolution as Darwin says, but it's a spiritual evolution. So you say you're an ant, you work your way up. That's why they say human life is rare, Manusha Janma. It's a rare birth because it's the highest platform one can get to within this creation. And in the human life, we can inquire, what is God? We have a natural instinct to ask, why am I here? What is the purpose of life? Whereas if we study the animals, we don't see they have that nature. They're simply interested in surviving. Basically, these four things that Prabhupada always says: they eat, they sleep, they reproduce, and they defend. And Prabhupada said once that sleeping means housing. You know, it's a place to sleep. Either you're sleeping in a cave, in the hollow of a tree, or whatever. Sleeping means you have some home. In the human society, we're very we need some hut, some house, something to live in. So that is the broader understanding of sleeping, not just sleeping at night, but having a place to sleep in. So we gradually work our way up to this human form of life. So when Prabhupada speaks with reporters, it's interesting to study how he presents Krishna consciousness to them, because he understands that these people, they're going to write it in their newspaper or however they're presenting their news, what he says. So he wants to keep it simple that they can understand it, but yet get the message across. So one time, Prabhupada was describing this verse in Bhagavad Gita in 13:12. And I read, we've all read this verse. This is all the qualities of the human society. long verse. It's actually several verses. So Prabhupada was talking to the reporter about education and how people don't have proper education. And he quoted just the first line, first or second line, Amanit vam adam vidvam. He would say, humility, pridelessness. Who is learning that in school? We're learning to be, proud. We have school pride. I remember when I was in high school, school pride, and we had school colors. We had our teams, our sports team, basketball, football, school pride. But here, Krishna says that real education, amanit vam, humility, adam vitvam, pridelessness, ahimsa, non-violent, does not kill unnecessarily. No, and nor do we kill for sport. In the Western world, well, not the Western world, the world in general, hunting is a popular sport. People buy guns, buy bows and arrows. They want to go to the forest and they want to practice killing tigers. People go to Africa, spend lots of money to go on safari just so they can shoot one exotic African animal, elephant, tiger, like this. But the devotees, we are so nonviolent that we do not want to even step on the ant. I was just reading the story of Jada Bharat. So there's Rishabh Dev, and this is all in fifth canto, Rishabh Dev, and he gives instructions to his 100 sons. His chief son was Bharat, and he later becomes the king. He becomes Bharat Maharaj. And that is the person that the world was named after, Bharat Varsha, Rishabh Dev's son. And he was a great king. And he retired and renounced toward the end of his life. But unfortunately, he became attached to a deer. And it's a long description of his affection for this baby deer. The mother just had the deer. The mother was jumping across the river in fear because there was lightning. And she gave birth to the baby deer. And the baby deer was born in a moving river. So he saw this, and he saw that the baby's going to die, the baby's going to drown. So out of compassion, he rescued the baby deer. But then he kept that deer, and he kept it just like a child, just like a dear friend. And it goes on many verses, how intimate relationship of friendship he had with the deer. But then at some point, the deer went off, and it didn't come back. And Bharat is lamenting, where's my deer? Where's my best friend? And he had become a very advanced devotee. But he became attached to this deer, and ultimately he did fall and die while he was searching for the deer. And because he was fully absorbed in the deer, what happens, whatever yam yam vapi smaram bhavam, what we think of at the time of death, we attain. So unfortunately, even though he was a very advanced devotee, his consciousness was clouded by material affection for the deer. And lo and behold, he takes birth as a deer. But not just any deer. He was a deer that maintained his consciousness and his remembrance of his past life. And he realized what a mistake he had made. So then he goes through the deer body. Then the next birth is Bharat. He's still called Bharat, but he's called Jada Bharat. And he takes birth in a Brahmin family. But he was not interested, and he maintained his consciousness of all of these births and realized his mistakes. So he basically didn't want to interact with the material world at all, even though his father was trying to teach him prayers and mantras and Gayatri and how to be Brahmana. He wasn't interested. He acted like a deaf and dumb person. So it's a long story, but he was captured yeah, it goes on. It's a whole multiple chapters. But the point is that he was later on, some dacoits, low class people, captured him and wanted to offer him to Mother Kali, to Durga, and they were just ready to chop his head off. And Durga saw this. She's in the deity. All the deities are in the personalities are in these forms. She bursts out of the deity to save Jad Bharat, the great devotee, and she killed all the dacoits with the very chopper that they were. She grabbed the chopper and chopped off all their heads. So then the story goes on that there was a king, and he had his servants carrying the palanquin and carrying him, and they needed one more person. So they saw Jad Bharat standing there, and they said they kind of took him involuntarily because he didn't complain, because he was acting as a dumb person. And they said, you help us carry the palanquin of the king, because he was very strong and stout. Describes his bodily features was very strong. But then he's working with the others. It's a teamwork. When you carry a palanquin of a person, there's teamwork. Everybody has to be the same speed, the same time, so that it's a smooth ride. But he was jerking all the time, carrying the palanquin. And the king said, what are you, what's wrong with you? Basically, what's wrong with you? And he was jerking because there were ants, and he would have to stop in the middle of the stride to make sure he didn't step on any ants or any insects. So this was the nature of a devotee. And there's several stories of great devotees who were very careful about not even stepping on an ant. So that's why, as devotees, we, of course, take up vegetarian diet, because Krishna doesn't accept foodstuffs which is not vegetarian. Patram pushpam phalam toyo yo me bhakta prayachati. He never says, offer me animals, offer me birds, offer me fish. So if one is serious about becoming Krishna conscious, he will be careful with his diet, eating food only offered to Krishna, and Krishna will only accept prasadam, vegetarian foodstuffs. I met a family the other day. Their son was going to NIH, and I have a house. I rent the rooms to NIH students. So the family came, South Indian family. They both had very nice names. I'm trying to remember, the wife's name was Pooja. They all had, Krishna conscious names. And we got to talk about Krishna consciousness a little bit. And they said, oh, well, because I asked, is your boy a vegetarian? Because it's a group house and they share the kitchen. And they say, well, we're vegetarians, but he is not a vegetarian. And this is quite common in the West for Indian religious families. Oh, we don't want our son to feel different. Or, we want our son to blend and be able to associate with everyone and not feel like an outsider. So he's not a vegetarian, but we're strict vegetarians. So unfortunately, this is how the Dharma gets lost. And I've seen a number of families, I'm sure you all know families too like that. Obviously not devotee families, but Hindu families that are not so strict. So humility, pridelessness, nonviolence, tolerance, simplicity. And another line Prabhupada always quotes, Acharya Pasanam, approaching a spiritual master. So people would ask sometimes, Prabhupada, I was in one lecture, Prabhupada, they asked Prabhupada, can we become Krishna conscious without a guru? And Prabhupada said, Not possible. Very simple answer. Not possible. Acharya Pasanam. Krishna says that one must approach one in knowledge. Not that you try to figure it all out yourself. He said we should not learn Bhagavad Gita from the scholars. We're talking mundane scholars, not Vedic scholars. From the scholars and from the politicians. He said these two classes of people, sometimes politicians, and then he talks about the president of India wrote commentation on Bhagavad Gita, going back a long time ago. And he said, just because he's president, he thinks he can comment on Krishna's teachings. But he had misinterpreted the whole thing. One must hear from in the parampara system as it is handed down through disciplic succession. So another time with reporters, Prabhupada said, we're creating first-class people. This is the man would ask, what is your mission? What is your mission, Swamiji? We're creating a class of a class of men of first-class quality. And then another time he said, ideal moral character. Another reporter says, we're what is your mission? We're creating a class of people of ideal moral character. So then one may think, well, what is moral? What is moral character? My mother used to say, just be good. This is the goal of life, that runs how we understand our existence. Be good. Of course, good is relative. Good to one person is not good to another person. So Prabhupada describes as being good or ideal moral character. Basically, he gives us these 4 principles to follow. Principles of purification. No meat eating, no fish or eggs, no meat, fish, or eggs, no gambling. That's not difficult. Most devotees don't have a problem with gambling. Although I did meet an Indian lady once at a program, and she said her husband had gone to Las Vegas, and he had an addiction to gambling, because gambling can be addictive. And he lost all the family's money, and then he committed suicide because he had lost all the money. It's interesting, whenever you hear about Las Vegas, you always hear about people losing. I never hear about people winning. So seems to be rigged. Gambling is not to be attempted. So meat eating, gambling, illicit sex life, very common all over the world. We won't say the West. The whole world is the same homogenous nonsense nowadays. So Prabhupada said, if you cannot remain single, or brahmachari, get yourself married. Be an honest person, but don't pollute others. So no illicit sex, no gambling, no meat eating, no intoxication. Oh, you ever watch a movie or these gatherings where the presidents, they have the summits, and they're all drinking. They have a toast. They all drink some. They're all drinking some alcohol. Movies are all drinking some alcohol. So this what sets us apart from other people. We're not trying to blend. We're not trying to be accepted by them. We are trying to be accepted by Krishna. We want to please God. We don't want to please them, because pleasing them means I'm taking birth again. I'm coming back here for more nonsense, for more suffering. But if we follow what Prabhupada has given us, what the acharyas have given us, these rules of freedom to purify ourselves. So the reporter asked Prabhupada, so what is a first-class person? First class to him is different than first class to us. So Prabhupada described 1842, the qualities of the Brahmana: peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance. That was also in that amanidvam, adamvidvam. Those were symptoms of knowledge. So this is specifically the qualities of the Brahmana: purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom. So knowledge and wisdom, you would think they're the same thing, but there's a difference. It's basically jnanam and vijnanam. Knowledge means, yeah, I learn a lot of things. I learn scriptures. I can memorize verses. I know, unfortunately, I know some people, who were devotees who had so many verses memorized. They could rattle off like a machine gun, bada, 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 so many verses, and yet the wisdom is not there. Wisdom means I understand, even if I don't understand a lot of verses, if I just understand the essence, which is to please Krishna, to become his devotee. Madmana bhavat mad bhakto, majaji mam namaskaru. This is the verse that Prabhupada would quote very often. And sarvadharmam parityajya, just surrender unto me. Even if I don't know anything of memory of verses, if I learn these two verses and practice them, I'll be successful. So wisdom comes from experience. Wisdom is to be acquired. Knowledge, anyone can memorize. There are people with photographic memories. They can remember so many things. Just like, I'm just thinking of these spelling bees. And the spelling bees, we all know that the Indian community, their children are very expert in spelling. So they learn so many things. And I'm sure they're very good at their studies and at their college and educational system. But having a PhD, graduating from college, learning all about this world will not get me back to Godhead. Better I'm a simpleton and believe and have firm faith in Krishna than I'm a great scholar, but I have no faith in God. And there's that little story which you've all heard of the uneducated, illiterate man in South India. This is in Chaitanya Charitamrita. And he's can't read, but he's flipping through the pages of the Bhagavad Gita and he's crying. So the others are making fun of him. Look, the illiterate man, so and so. He thinks he's just flipping through the book, but we know he can't read. But Lord Chaitanya meets this man. He says, "You are the real knower of Bhagavad Gita. Even though you cannot read it, you're the real knower because you understand that devotion and surrender to Krishna is the essence, the purport of Bhagavad Gita." So wisdom and religiousness, these are the natural qualities by which the Brahmanas work. So interesting to note that Prabhupada came to the West to create devotees, and specifically to give second initiation to them. There were many other swamis that came to the West in the 60s, but no one was giving Gayatri. None of them were giving anything for free. Prabhupada would often talk about Maharishi Mahesh Yogi and Transcendental Meditation Organization. They would sell the mantra, $35. And I remember I was in Georgetown once in Washington, D.C. We were out on chanting Harinam party. And I met this group of young people, boys and girls, coming down the street. They all had some alcoholic drink in their hand. And I was talking with them. And they said, we just got our mantra. We just got our mantra from Mahesh Yogi. We paid the $35. So what is the use of that mantra if one is living like a dog, like a cat, animalistic life? So one must have the qualities of purity, peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, religiousness, qualities by which the Brahman works. So Prabhupada came, and from the very beginning, from the very early days, he introduced deity worship, worship of the form of the Lord at the Archa Vigraha. Other groups did not do this. and he introduced a second initiation. He would say you cannot cook. Sometimes in our temples, because it's a rule, you cannot cook for the deity. You cannot use the fire unless you're second initiated. Quite often, when Prabhupada would come and they would have initiations, some people would get first and second at the same time because there was always a shortage of or I wouldn't say necessarily qualified or unqualified, but official brahmanas within the temple. So in order to fulfill that requirement that one could not worship the deity or cook for the deity without being brahmana, quite often there were people who would get first and second at the same time out of necessity. This is something that maybe most of you wouldn't know, but having lived in the temples back in the 70s at that time, this is what would happen. So anyway, we're probably getting late in time. I think I'll end here and ask for questions.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandat Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Am I audible?
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you so much for this wonderful class. Whenever I meet you, see you, I always remember that class that you took some 4 years ago in Potomac Temple. And you mentioned about one line of understanding, of the whole life. About one of your god sister. And you mentioned that she just said that my whole, and even you, that was your understanding as well. You mentioned that my one line understanding is I'm not this body. So thank you so much for always, I always remember that word for my whole life for last many years whenever I see you.
And I'm glad you brought that up. I'm not this body. And this is what, people ask, why did you become a devotee? You're a Western person. You're from a, successful family. Parents have money. What makes you want to live in a temple and put on robes and wake up at 4 a.m. and take a cold shower and chant Hare Krishna? Because the devotees told me, and the church never told me, I'm not this body. You will never go to a church and hear in their sermon, you're not this body. You'll never hear that. Basically, their line is, Jesus died for you and died for your sins, and you'll all be saved if you just accept Jesus. That's their line again and again and again and again. And it's a very simple line. And it attracts a lot of people. There's a lot of Christians. A lot of Indians have converted to Christianity over the eons, ever since the British came. But there's no philosophy. There's no philosophy. I'm not this body. That's number one point Krishna is telling Arjuna. He's, it's a gradual. He's talking to Arjuna to get him to fight the battle. So first of all, everyone's going to die anyway, and whatever's going to happen, it's already going to happen. And you're not this body, and it's your duty. And he explains this point to get him to fight, to get him to do the bidding of Lord Krishna, to accept Krishna's directions. Because we all know, not wanting to fight, that was his interest, not Krishna's interest. But at the end, he says, now I surrender unto you. So this is what we all are striving for, to finally surrender to Krishna. So if I'm not this body, why am I chasing after women? If I'm a man, if I'm a woman, why am I chasing after men? Why am I interested in intoxication? Why do I want to eat other bodies? Why do I want to eat dead bodies, animal products? It's like, these are all, if I'm not this body, if I'm a soul, I should be doing the work of a soul, not the work of a body. A body, like I said, the animals, they eat, they sleep, they mate, they defend. That's animal life. Let us get above that. If I'm not this body, let us do spiritual things. Let us meditate. Let us learn to realize God. I just reading a purport the other day, Prabhupada was explaining that in this in the age of Kali, of course, no one is qualified. But it says particularly Striyo Vaishastata Sudras, women, laborer class, business class. These are generally not highly scholarly, spiritually scholarly people. But Krishna says that all, and there are no brahmanas. Prabhupada said there's no qualified yognik brahmanas. I remember hearing him say this in India so many times. No qualified yognik brahmanas. So I would think, so why isn't there any qualified brahmanas? And then finally I heard one lecture where Prabhupada explains why we're Sudras, why everyone is born Sudra, even if I am born a Kshatriya, so-called Brahmin, so-called Kshatriya, family lineage is there. He said, because no one is following the samskaras. From the beginning, from before birth, from before conceiving the child, there's a samskara. Garbhadan samskara, Prabhupada talks about. There's prayers, and it's interesting if you study Garbhadan Sanskara, he never specifically lays out what to do, but he says generally one should have a spiritual consciousness at the time of conception. Not that it is just a lustful mood, but one should have spiritual, consciousness. In several letters, he recommended chanting more rounds, but whether one chants more rounds or at least chants 16 rounds or some rounds and reads some Bhagavad Gita and tries to focus on the Supreme. Because it says whatever the consciousness is of the parents, that will be injected into the child. So because no one is practicing that, everyone is born Sudra or less than Sudra. Interesting point. But I'm not this body. And that's why I gave up going to church, because I found out when I met the devotees that chanting Hare Krishna, chanting the names of God, is the easy way to realize God, and I am not this body. And if I'm not this body, then I should want to go back to Godhead and not stay here and take another body, another body, another body. All this made great sense to me. And that's why I'm still a devotee after 50 years. I was never shaken to go back to material life to try sense gratification. I was so convinced. So,
So I have one funny realization, Prabhuji, and one question.
uh-huh.
So when you mention about Las Vegas, so I just felt like it is lost due to the Vegas, Vacho Vegam, Mano Vegam,
Uh-huh.
Manasa Vegam.
Yeah.
So it's like lost. The person will lose due to lost will be due to Vegas. I was just have that funny realization. And one question was with respect to the ant. You mentioned like
Don't.
I wanted to. Yeah, and I wanted to there are a lot of ants in my house, and I don't know how to deal with them, whether to kill or not. And
Yeah.
finally, yesterday, like there were so many that my daughter said, now you have to get some spray and help us, otherwise they are like taking everything.
Well, yeah.
So how to work with that situation, Prabhuji, when we should not be stepping on it. I mistakenly stepped, but I was
Mhm.
constantly chanting for the ant, for that ant to,
Mhm.
go back to Godhead, probably somewhere better place. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Cockroaches are not very desirable either. They're even worse, worse than ants. Insects in the house. Even sometimes in India, at least, there's a snake in the house. Not so much around here, luckily, but in India, particularly if you live in a hut. And I was in Bengal, and many people lived in huts. They didn't have brick or stone house or concrete. They had huts. So a snake could come in. Any kind of animal can come in. Yeah, that's a challenge. What to do when you're being overtaken by these undesirable living entities. I wouldn't say kill them because I can't. And if you buy some poison, then they will eat it and they get killed indirectly. Don't have a clear. I can't give you good direction on that because it's not an easy one. You can put some Mahaprasadam down and they'll get a spiritual benefit for sure. But then, of course, they won't diminish their population. But yeah, that's an issue that.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, if you allow me, I can, put some words here.
Mhm.
So what happens is in Gainesville Krishna House, they have a lot of ashrams there under the guidance of Kalakanta Prabhuji. He is a disciple of Srila Prabhupada.
Mhm.
And he, whenever the ants and roaches and all came, so he said that they're coming because you're not keeping things clean.
Mm.
So what they did is they actually they give out Krishna lunch 500 to 600 plates. So
Mm.
what they did is that they designed the whole thing with plumbing and all the kitchen. That after every meal they wash the kitchen
Mhm.
completely, and then it goes into the drain. It's the center of the kitchen. I went and saw also. So it's spick and clean. So now there's no complaint of anything because these living entities, they come to eat like dirt, hair, food particles, all these things. So if cleanliness is maintained, then definitely they will not come. And then one can also go for mild things like naphthalene balls come. Small naphthalene balls are there that they don't like the smell. Some people also put turmeric,
Mm.
which is very, very healing, but at the same time for them, it's not good. So I remember this because the students would complain, the devotees who stayed in the ashram, and Kalakanta Prabhu would always say that the standard of cleanliness is not, I'm not saying this to you, Prabhuji, but he
Right.
would say that they only come because they have to come and eat. Four
Yeah.
things like Prabhuji was mentioning, all living entities do: eating, sleeping, mating. So, they're one of their desires getting fulfilled
Right.
from your home. So just like in USA, sometimes we do weekly cleaning. One we because there's not so much dust and all. Just like in other, especially in India, you have to do everyday cleaning
Mm.
because of a lot of dust is there. But one can do twice a week cleaning. So
Mhm.
maybe that can also help. And so that way, what Prabhuji was saying, that you're not killing them, you're cleaning them, and they will go in the drain or wherever they will travel, and they'll go somewhere outside. And and normally what we do, we keep uh, a keep or something, where if you see a ant, I just take it and then I throw it outside in the nature.
Yes.
So then, because so I just wanted to mention that, just to throw it out, and spiders can be thrown out, everything.
Right.
And there's this the mop that they use in airports, the black long mop, which is basically it stands, and then it stands up. It's not like a normal keep for picking up the dirt.
Mm.
So suppose we are scared of roaches and all, we can quickly take it in that. And roach is also a helpless creature because the moment the roach, if you observe, it comes on its back, it starts moving, it's completely gone. But if
Mm.
it's on the feet, that will run around here and there and
Mm.
make havoc for us. So what I would do is I would just turn the roach around and then put it in the keep and take it right out of the house, and not right outside the house. They'll come in, go a
Mm.
little bit more further, and throw it outside somewhere in the garden.
Right.
So that way there are ways to, yes, Prabhuji, I just wanted to mention that because I know
Mm.
this is the best way of not killing them. But I had one question.
Yeah.
Like, for example, sometimes the other, there are mosquitoes and they ding you, right? The mosquitoes and the, like a snake. So I've heard that there was some incidents where one time, we were reading Prabhupada Lilamrit recently,
Mm.
and there was a snake, and like Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj said, kill it.
Yes. Yeah. Right.
Yes. So
That.
that means even sometimes these, Prabhuji, these mosquitoes like dengue, they can give us fever, and even maybe we can die also, or something like that. So
Right.
sometimes they come and bite you, and then you feel a itching, and you take your hand there and you slap it, and then you realize there's blood in your hand because you realize that there was a mosquito. You didn't intentionally want to kill it,
Mhm.
but you got an itch and then you know went like this and you were like, what is this going on, you know? So we try our best, but is it okay to kill these mosquitoes and the like snakes and all these who give trouble, or we have to avoid them also?
Well, it's a fight, just like you drive your car. There's so many bugs that on your window, on your grill. We can't avoid. The Jain people, they make a big effort not to kill anything. They walk with the wind. They don't take the car. They walk, and they're very. That's their dharma, not to kill. Ahimsa is their main dharma. But yeah, like my can use a catch that you can catch them alive and let them go. I've done that a number of times. You don't have to,
Yes.
in a trap. There's certain traps.
Yeah, you mean like generally we avoid basically all these living entities. We just avoid, you just get them out of that area and avoid killing basically.
Right.
Yeah.
We there's always some kill. There's always, just living, just breathing. There's always something, one living entity is food for another. We can't be completely free from the sin of killing other living beings. That's why we to please, forgive.
So, Prabhuji, in connection to these animals, like I'm really scared of lizards, no? And frogs, these reptiles, I'm really scared of. I mean, it's really, I'm not concerned about the spiders and all. So, like sometimes when I see them, I get petrified, and then I take help from outside. And if that other help person snaps and kills it,
Yeah.
I was asking for help to take it out, but the other person killed it. So definitely I get the karma, right? Because I'm the one who called the person to remove it, and the person
You're sharing it, but yeah, that's
sharing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Prabhuji, yeah.
That's why we have to surrender to Krishna, because life is, just existing is killing somebody, killing.
Prabhuji, if we are scared of these reptiles and all, that means in a previous life we were reptiles, or what is it that we are so scared of them in this life?
Women in general are scared. Like my wife, she doesn't want, reptile snakes. Men are not so worried about them. Women are more worried about them. It's the nature of men and women. But yeah, nothing. Haven't read anything that if you're scared of a reptile, you
welcome back
at some point. Back many lifetimes ago, we were everything at one point. I say that to my kids sometimes. I said, "Remember, you used to be one of these." We see some animal, something. So we say, "You remember when you were one of these?" Jokingly, I say to them. to get
Prabhuji, but one more incident you were mentioning about the South Indian family that came and they said, well, we cannot stop our children, right? So I have summoned my relative, and she's connected to me like my cousin's sister. So they are vegetarian, the parents, like Hindu parents.
Right.
But their sons, they say, no, actually, we cannot force them. So suppose they like to have, or suppose, they will be away from the American people. And then their biggest fear is when they go to the university.
Right.
There the food in the dorm, they start with the dorm, and other places hardly any vegetarian. They will be like famished. They will be like, undernourished. So we don't want, we've come to this country, so we want it's a land of opportunity, and we want our children to like prosper, and they're seeing all like light America.
Fit in. Yeah, they want to fit in with them. Yeah, I know. Yes. Well, my granddaughters in college. Well, one just graduated, and if you instill in your children the proper principles, they'll be very careful. Just as we are careful. It's not easy being vegetarian, especially if you're traveling for food around. You have to go buy a yogurt and a banana thing. But that's You know?
Yeah, there's some patent things like bread. You check the ingredients: peanuts, avocado, salad, banana,
Yeah.
curd. The only limited items we can take and then offer in our mind and have it. When we're outside.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
We would do traveling Sankirtan living in the temple. We would just go to one of the favorite things the men, they used to buy the Philadelphia cream cheese. That was one of their favorite things to buy when they were out for the weekend or something.
Yes.
And like I said, nuts and things like that. But yeah.
It's amazing, Prabhuji. A lot of devotees, I would give chance to others to ask also, but a lot of devotees ask this question on this forum that, with the Indians, we understand, like, we have so much of variety. We have South Indian, we have like, Indian Chinese, then we eat all kinds of food. So many vegetables are there. There's a whole list and so many lentils we have that we can have. But when the American people or, other people like, there are Mexicans and so many others, from different parts of the world, when they become devotees in Hare Krishna, I just wonder sometimes, isn't it very difficult to, especially prasadam doesn't become a challenge? Have you heard of anything like that? Because, it's like for us, it is still easy because, we were already vegetarian. Then we left onion, garlic. So then, still there's a lot of variety. And everything in vegetarian, every vegetable and lentil can be cooked without onion, garlic.
Right.
So it was not a major problem for us being Indian background, but I sometimes really appreciate that, like you said, man, just having like Philadelphia cheese. So, I mean, it is so difficult that the diet is limited because they've been used to eating when they were young, the Americans and, coming from that background. So still they have sacrificed everything for what Shri Prabhupada has asked them to do. So I really feel very honored that so many people from America join, the movement, and they also adopt the prasadam. That's the thing. Maybe if I was an American body, I felt I wouldn't have, you know. So somehow being in an Indian background, I was able to.
Well, of course, vegetarian, and now they have this new term, vegan. That's another extension because
Yes.
they don't take dairy products because the reasoning behind that is the animals are exploited. The cows are exploited. The commercial dairies, commercial farming to get the milk products. The animals, the cows suffer. But Prabhupada didn't make a point of that. Prabhupada used commercial milk. And it wasn't an issue that where does the milk come from? He just said devotees should use milk for Krishna likes milk. Of course, now we have if you live near an ISKCON farm, which is not many of us, possibly you could get like a Gita Nagari in Pennsylvania. They they sell the commercial milk that they produce from their protected cow. Most people don't have that opportunity. But vegetarianism is there's a certain class of people in America that are vegetarian or vegan due to reasons. They don't do it because the soul is in everything, as we understand as devotees, as followers of Bhagavad Gita. They just feel it's healthier, and maybe they have some compassion for the animals, maybe. But a lot of people just do it just for health, and sometimes it's a fad, it's a fashion. I know people that were vegetarian, West non-devotees, but then they give it up because it's more work, it's more effort. But they don't to stick with it as we do. We have to not only for health is a side issue. The fact that animal products are bad for your heart and your well-being in general, cholesterol, etc. We understand that, as this verse says, all pervading, the soul is within all living beings, and we graduate from one being to another through the evolutionary process of the soul to get to the human form. So that's why we don't kill animals, and Krishna doesn't ask it for animals. Krishna asks for vegetarian food. So
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for association. So if anybody else has any question, comments, please go ahead. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for this wonderful class and this such an auspicious month. Really appreciate it. I had a question regarding milk, Prabhuji. How is Krishna loved milk, and we are allowed to have milk. But how do we know that the milk that we are getting are not from the cows who are depriving their calves from having that milk?
Well, it's not that the cow, I mean, shall we say the commercial dairy is not kind to cows. And of course, we do know they do slaughter their cows when they get a little old and cannot produce the milk anymore. And we do know they slaughter all of the male cows or the oxen, the bulls. So the dairy industry is not a kind industry to the cows and to the bulls. But Prabhupada never said we should not drink milk because of that. Prabhupada, from the very beginning, they always used milk. So, it's not something that Prabhupada made a point about. It is what it is. Krishna likes milk. Devotees offer milk. All the Prabhupada said some sages only drank milk. Of course, that's in India with, protected cows. But when you're in the West, it's all we have is store-bought milk, unless you're near an ISKCON farm. But Prabhupada he never brought it, ahimsa milk. We have this term ahimsa milk with the ISKCON farm milk. But Prabhupada never used that term because it didn't exist at the time.
Right, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
We buy the milk at the store and we offer it to Krishna, and Krishna purifies it. It becomes prasadam. So we're not getting sin by offering milk to Krishna. That comes from a commercial dairy. It's not something that Prabhupada ever said.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for this wonderful class. I am just a new beginner in Krishna consciousness. However, the first time when I read Bhagavad Gita, isn't there somewhere mentioned, since you compared Christianity with Hinduism and, Krishna being Krishna conscious, didn't Krishna himself say that after me, there are going to be some demigods all around the world? There have to be some demigods coming all around the world, or my form coming all around the world, because the humanity needs some kind of direction. Like, when there is always all these bad things happening with human beings, like the Kali Yuga happening in different parts of the world, different times, there have to be either my forms, I forget how it is specifically mentioned, or demigods coming. So wouldn't Jesus, who is not himself God, he is the Son of God, but he's a messenger. And during those times, Jesus's times, and whatever were the circumstances, he was born in the desert, and and there are certain people live in the desert, people live in Alaska where not many vegetables are grown. Wouldn't it be appropriate for human survival at that point of time, or even in today's world, to survive on whatever is available around them? And then I also understand from somewhere, or I heard in one of the classes, it's like through Krishna also, he has, there are some demigods you can always, you can pray to, for instance, Catholics, like if you lose something, you pray to Saint Anthony, or, if you are a traveler, for safe travels, people pray to Saint Christopher, things like that. And things do happen. So it doesn't always have Krishna. And then that was one of my questions. So how do we explain that? And the other thing is,
एक का इंटरेस्ट आया था और दो इकट्ठे करे थे। तो उसमें क्या हुआ कि उसमें 75,000
and other
You
thing,
bank
in addition to what Rupini
नहीं
Mataji
करोड़
was
ऐसे
saying,
बात कर रही
how
है
you can
लाख की बात कर
avoid.
रही है यूएस
I
टू
had a
यूएस
client who never used
सो
to
3
drink
लाख लेके थे करोड़
alcohol,
में था 2 करोड़
and I
समथिंग
used
है
to talk to her
3 करोड़ का
saying,
तो क्या
oh,
आपकी
sometimes when I go to parties, I'm like an outcast because, everybody is drinking, everybody is doing that, but I don't drink. So, and this was a very elderly woman. She was in her 90s, very affluent, very rich. And I'm like, how did you maintain yourself in the parties and made friends and made conversation and kept a good social life by not drinking? And she said, yeah, I used to just take a glass of wine. And you know what I used to do? I used to just set it on the side, on the table. And I used to begin a conversation with my friends, and people used to think, oh, she's drinking, but I never even sipped wine. So, oh, whatever, the alcohol is. So I said, yes, you can deceive people by doing that. Yes, I am eating, but you always have a choice to be part of the group and not uh, follow the principles of Krishna consciousness. But my first question was more important, the Jesus one.
Saints, well, of course, we understand that it's the Krishna and his expansions, Vishnu expansions, and then there's the Devatas or the demigods. And it takes an army to run the universe. So Krishna has a lot of helpers, and they do different things. There's a Devata demigod for everything. But as devotees, we focus on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Specifically in the Gita, Krishna says that those who worship the demigods exclusively, neglecting me, they're less intelligent. Some people become devotees. Of course, Shiva is very popular. Ganesh is very popular. Hanuman, of course, is not a demigod. He's a servant of Lord Ram. But some people exclusively worship these other devatas, but it's just due to a poor fund of knowledge. Prabhupada would say that they don't understand, they're attracted by, for some reason or another. Generally, people worship the devatas for material benefit. They pray, for this God, for that God, give me this, give me that. But if we want to go back to Godhead, we should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Krishna said, there are, like you mentioned, Jesus comes. Jesus is Son of God. Prabhupada always respected Jesus. He always said he's Son of God. He came to deliver a message. You were talking about eating. Jesus, the Bible doesn't, most Christians are not vegetarians. It's not a specific injunction in the Bible to be vegetarian. At least they don't perceive it that way. That none of the main churches propagate it. Although Seventh-day Adventists, they propagate vegetarian diet, but not for a religious reason, only for health reason. So, Prabhupada did say an interesting point about, living in a place where there's no vegetarian food. Prabhupada did say, of course, there is vegetarian food everywhere now because they import everything. Even you go to some little tropical island, they're importing. Hawaii, everything isn't, well, they grow a lot of things, but most of the things are imported. So it's funny, there's always food around. Prabhupada did say once that one could eat non-veg if there's nothing there. If it's a question of surviving, and he would talk about to people who are not like Hindus who are not vegetarians, he would say, at least don't eat the cow, at least that much. If you're not working to become a pure devotee and go back to Godhead, you're not a vegetarian. Like I said that to the Indian couple that had the boy who they said they let him eat meat. I said, at least don't let him eat the cow. And they said, yes, we try to, tell him, don't eat the cow, don't go to McDonald's, But and there's a lot of Indians, and we've all those who were born in India, when I've traveled, a lot of people eat fish, a lot of people eat chicken. Generally, they won't eat the cow, and unless they're atheist. Only the atheists, and of course, non-Hindus. That's another category. Muslim people, Christian people, they have no diet, no restriction on what they eat. Muslims, of course, have halal. They have some restriction, but they eat everything. They don't eat pigs. They don't eat pigs because they're considered unclean. So some restriction there. And what was the second half again? You were asking.
I wasn't specifically. The Christianity one, like the demigods one, like we pray to, like we in the sense, people pray for instant gratification. People, there are some demigods which you already answered, I guess, because I was just saying, especially as people get older and forgetful, they misplace stuff, and it's some people are like just heavily relying on Saint Anthony. I'm like, but then again, I feel that I know people. Being a Krishna conscious, our ultimate thing should be to just pray to Krishna. But Draupadi did the same thing, but there was a purpose behind it because she was being disrobed and she called Krishna, although she had Krishna forever on her mind even before the situation arose. Don't you feel that is more important? Like it is okay to call Krishna during our more dire and when we need him the most, but also have him on our minds at all times. It's like she always prayed to Krishna, although she considered him as a brother, as a teacher, as a whatever. But that was the time she also asked for something. I'm just giving an example. And Krishna did come. So is it okay to sometimes ask Krishna, not in like some minor situations, but like in a major disappointments, and not disappointments, misfortunes in our life, to ask something for Krishna? From Krishna.
Certainly, I mean, there are levels of prayer. The pure prayer is like Lord Chaitanya prayed. I don't want anything, na danam, na janam, na sundarim. I don't want money, women, followers. I don't want anything. I just want your devotion. That's the pure level. But if one is a devotee and some problem, if we turn to Krishna, that Krishna expects us or wants us to turn to him no matter what our problem is. Even like you're going to school and you want to pass the test, Krishna, please help me, remember the answers. Krishna says from him comes remembrance and forgetfulness. So Krishna is the source of that. We can pray to Krishna for anything. I mean, you could even pray to Krishna, please help me, help me make money and be successful. It's not a pure prayer, but it's Krishna. You are Krishna conscious because you're thinking of Krishna. You're just not praying an absolute prayer. And most of us are not absolutely perfect. So most of us don't pray absolutely. So the idea is to practice to thank Krishna and ask Krishna for whatever we may need, because otherwise the non-devotee, they never ask God for anything. They just think it's all their endeavor, it's all their effort and all their intelligence, and that's why they're successful. They don't thank God ever. It's interesting when you watch the like the music awards, a lot of those musicians, they thank God. They thank God. But when I watch the Oscars, I never see anyone thank God. I don't know why. But the music awards, a lot of them thank God. It's interesting. We should always thank God because God is our ability. God gives us the ability to do things. So
That's true. Yep. Have God's name, like I said, throughout day and night. Yep.
Yeah, in happiness and distress.
And distress. Yep.
Thank God that I was successful. And even if there's something bad happening, God, please help me, Krishna, help me get through this, because I know ultimately you're in control. Krishna's in control of everything. So sometimes bad things happen to us, sometimes good things happen to us. But
yep. Thank you so much. Yeah.
We have to thank Krishna when good things happen too, not just when bad things happen.
I always used to tell my kids, even before I joined Krishna consciousness, whatever good happens is because of God, Lord, and whatever bad happens is because of our own mistakes, because ultimately God proposes and man disposes. So, it's thank you so much.
An interesting point you talked about, of course, that's the Catholic faith, is they pray to the different saints for like even driving up.
Yes.
When I drive up 95, when I get into New Jersey on the highway, there's a statue, Catholic statue. Maybe I'm not sure who it is, but something about blessing our journey.
Yeah.
Catholic Protestants don't pray to saints. They have a different outlook for some reason. They only pray to Jesus. Whereas the Catholics, they have a lot of saints, and saints give blessings and benedictions, and that's true. We should and we have a lot of, in Christian consciousness, Vedic culture, there's lots of saints, and all saints have power to bless and to help. So thank you
for all this discussion. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Hare Krishna, Anuttama Prabhuji, thank you so much for the wonderful class. And I was just remembering that I was also at Sadhu Sangha. I must have run into you there. And before we started, I had to finish some house chores because, the wife said she wouldn't come if I don't finish all those. So I was actually trimming the bushes. And there was two ladies coming, and they were JW, a Jehovah Witness, and they came to me and said, "Have you taken Jesus as your Lord and Savior? What are you doing?" I said, "I'm gardening." "Oh, do you know about the Garden of Eden? It's actually in a place in the Middle East. It's there today, and the kingdom of God is on this earth." And then I slowly started talking about our philosophy, that we were all in Goloka and how we came to this world because we were envious of Krishna. And she was I told her what your message today, that we are not this body but we are the soul. And she was a little confused when I talked about the soul, like you were telling us today. But she was. I appreciated how much they are reaching out to everybody, and the way they connected what I was doing to the Garden of Eden. And her message was, the kingdom of God is on earth and not anywhere else, and that's and Jesus is the king. Is what she was trying to give the message. And I was trying to tell her that this is Dukkalaya Mashashvatam, but she wasn't getting it. And thankfully, she gave me some literature to read, and she said, "You have to read the Bible." I said, "I read the Bhagavad Gita." And I had gone to North Carolina, the new Goloka Dham there. The Bir Krishna Maharaj is the Maharaj there, and he had some disciples had given me some books to distribute, And this was simple books that you're not the body, exactly what your message today. So I ran in the house and gave her that book, that you're not the body.
Right.
So yes, and I asked her like, why don't you believe in reincarnation, and how do you justify all the suffering in the world? And she said, oh, that's everybody suffering, and there's only one life. And they were not really understanding the philosophy of reincarnation and us being the soul.
Yeah.
So
Jehovah's Witnesses, if you want to find a good point to say is that they're very active in their missionary work. And they're famous for going door to door, which is not easy because you're all kinds of people, and you have to be able to defend your presentation. But their philosophy is very different than mainstream Christian. They have some very odd ideas. They like Mormons too. They have very different ideas. Although we were talking about alcohol, this is different. Drinking, and we should talk about socializing. The last lady speaking, socializing, and you're with friends, and they're all like my wife went over to visit Indian house, and she said, "Oh, what would you like to drink?" and just a side note, you all familiar with the Bajaj family, right? The Bajaj motors, they make the scooters and
the scooters, bikes.
The husband, part of the Bajaj, Mr. Bajaj, and Ram Krishna Bajaj, who back in Prabhupada's days came to Vrindavan and met Prabhupada, and were discussing about Krishna consciousness in 1977. So he had some piety, but one of the Bajajes lives right in our area here. He has a huge, very rich, big house, and he was married to this woman, but they got divorced. So she's in a big house a couple miles away. They're rich. They're very rich people. But she's the one. She's drinking, and my wife was because my granddaughter and their daughter go to the same school, so we know each other through the school. And but they understand not drinking. It's Mormons don't drink, so and there are a lot of Mormons around. They never drink, and people respect that. President Trump, for whatever politically we're not going to discuss, but he does not drink, and he's the president. And whenever they have these political gatherings and meeting heads of states and heads of countries, everyone's always drinking, but he doesn't drink, and maybe he has juice or something. So, I think people respect you if you don't drink, because drinking can get you in trouble. Besides the fact that we don't drink ever, alcoholism is a big disease in the world, and better to avoid it for health reasons. It also causes this cirrhosis of the liver, so it's not a desirable habit, although it's a very popular habit, unfortunately. But devotees, it's considered impure. Fermented things is considered impure. Alcohol is a fermented, so that's why we don't touch alcohol. Nor do we do other things. We don't take any kind of intoxicants. Prabhupada said even coffee and tea. And so I was reading in the conversations. The man asked Prabhupada, Swamiji, why don't you drink coffee? A lot of people, everybody drinks coffee. It doesn't make you high. It's not like alcohol. And Prabhupada said, we don't drink coffee because it's addictive. And if you don't have it one day, you go mad. You have headache, you have withdrawal. So that is why we don't drink coffee, because it's addictive. It's not that it's an intoxicant. Doesn't make you high like alcohol or drugs, but you become addicted to it, the caffeine. So interesting point. Prabhupada was asked why we don't drink coffee, and I read that answer. So Prabhupada gets asked everything eventually. And if you read enough, you'll get answers to everything. So, anything else out there? Getting a little late, although it's Saturday, luckily. we always appreciate everyone taking their time to attend these classes every morning. You all have, enchanting together. Very nice to start your day, because most of us are not living in the temple. We're not, attending the scheduled programs, ashram life. Most of us have never had ashram life, although I was a brahmachari for 9 years. And then even after I got married for a number of years, I was still living in the temples. So it's good training. Any other comments? Otherwise, we'll end.
So, Prabhuji, I had a question, the very short one, regarding Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was born in Mayapur, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So being in Bengal, like they do find they say that for them fish is very auspicious. So some
Fish is popular in Bengal because there's a lot of water in Bengal. It's not popular in Rajasthan because there's no water.
yes.
And in Madras, the ocean is there. A lot of people, they go fishing, but all along the coast, they eat fish because it's available. But you can't offer fish to Krishna,
Yes. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also never had fish.
No, well, his father, it was from a Brahmin family. I never read that his father or mother were they were strict vegetarians. As far as I never read anything to the contrary. So
Thank you, Prabhuji.
And all of his associates, Advaitacharya, everybody else. It's part of sattvic life. Sattvic life means clean life. If we want to be Brahminical, if we want to be sattvic, be clean, our eating habits and our drinking habits have to be clean. That's why we don't touch alcohol. We don't touch animal products. I remember, because I wasn't born a devotee. I was born in a Christian family, and my mother was not vegetarian. My father, nor was I as a child. And I remember my mother cooked chicken one time for us. And I was looking at the chicken piece, and there was a vein. I said, "Is that a vein? Is that blood?" She said, "No, that's just the juice. That's And I'm like, "That's blood. That's a." I'm like, I'm like a 6-year-old kid, and I'm like, "You're giving? What are you giving me? Body parts? This is horrible." I became vegetarian before I met the devotees, before I met Prabhupada. So some people were fortunate, became. I had enough intelligence to be vegetarian even before I heard of Krishna consciousness. So on my own endeavor.
Oh, that's so wonderful, Prabhuji.
Of course, that was Prabhupada's mercy that he came and he lifted up everyone who was ripe for Krishna consciousness. People always ask me, and I always ask the Western devotees, why did you become a devotee? You're not born in this culture. You have different culture, and you have money. You're not a poor person. You didn't join the ashram to get food, like in India. A lot of people become Christian. The village kids join because there's more food at the temple. And they're pious too, but more food is attractive. But in the West, we have money, we have food, we have everything. Why do all these austerities? Why take up, total religious life? And we weren't living outside. We didn't become congregational members. In the old days, it was all or nothing. If you wanted to be a Hare Krishna, you had to put on a robe, shave your head, go out in the street and sing Hare Krishna for 6-8 hours a day, and sell Back to Godhead magazines and other literature to people, proselytize. So it was not easy. So according to Bhagavad Gita, our past lives determine what's life we get now. And it said that those who take birth in the pious families and the wealthy families, either an aristocratic family or a pious family, due to their last birth, their pious activities. And then Prabhupada breaks it down. If you take birth in a wealthy family where you were less pious if you take birth in a religious family, or you, and it said even if you don't complete the yogic process in the last life, you will be automatically attracted to it. So some of us were automatically attracted, and most people are not automatically attracted because they're impious, and last life was impious. So it's all our karma, it's all the mercy of Krishna, it's all the mercy of Guru. Prabhupada came to lift us up, to find these. Prabhupada once said that all of his disciples were representatives of his Guru Maharaj. So Prabhupada was very kind to us. And we were all helping him. We all were helping spread the mission. I mean, once it got going, it was us that did the recruiting. We got more and more people to come by doing college programs, street preaching, and going to other countries. It started off with one center in New York, and within 7-8 years, there were 100 centers. So Prabhupada didn't run around and open up 100 centers. His disciples did. And then Prabhupada would visit. So, unique history of the story of Krishna consciousness. So any other comments?
So it spread very fast, faster than Christianity in America, is it? During that time.
Say that again.
So Krishna consciousness spread
very fast back in that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and people, I was in Dubai in January, and we did some programs there. And one man asked, why is it that they're not, Western people joining the Krishna conscious movement anymore? And to some extent, there's truth to that. If you go to our temples, you will see 99% Indians. You won't see very many Western people. Of course, we do have outreach programs. We have college. We have Kalakantas there with the Krishna House. That's a very successful program dealing with Western people. All of our temples, it's just the way things have developed. Of course, the Indian people support the movement. In the days when there were no Indians, there was no money. I remember our temple in Washington, D.C. We didn't have money for heat. We're trying to spread. Prabhupada said we don't charge anything. So we're having a Sunday love feast, Sunday program for the public, giving free food, prasadam, Sunday feast, and trying to propagate Krishna consciousness. But we're not charging anything. So, and we had to pay rent on the building, and we sold incense. Incense was our only income, and back to Godheads for 25 cents. That was it. There was no one supporting us in the early days, so it was not easy.
So it was more of a funding issue, Prabhuji.
Say that again.
Was it more of a funding issue or the people's belief?
What is more of a
funding? I mean, financial issue. Like you said,
funding.
There was no.
That's what I thought you funded. About, why we had no money?
Yeah, I mean, it spread though. Right now, I think there's no funding issue, but now people are not joining as fast, right?
Well, now we propagate congregational development. Just like all of you people, we're not telling you stop your job and move in the temple. You're all family people. You all have children and responsibilities and good jobs. So we encourage congregational development and come to the temple, support the temple, and then take initiation if you feel inclined enough, and take second initiation, come do deity worship, come cook for Krishna, and become involved. And, help as much as you can. There's an interesting story, like Gopal Krishna Maharaj. I think most of you have heard of him or maybe knew him. He was practically, I think he was the first Indian man to join our movement. And he had a job. He came to the West, the same reason everybody else comes to the West, to make money and have a better lifestyle than they had in India. But somehow or other, he met Prabhupada and he wanted to be a devotee and take it up full time. Same with Swarup Damodar Swami, our doctor, our PhD scientist preaching. He came to America going to college, and he met Prabhupada and he just wanted to, take up Krishna consciousness. So some Indians do take up full time. Most don't. And, if they, in India, we get, of course, India is India. India is all we have are Indians. But a lot of them become Brahmin. A lot of the single men, the college men, they become full-time devotees and take up brahmachari life. So it's interesting how we preach to everyone. Prabhupada said we're not a Hindu movement in the sense that we're not just focusing on one type of people, Hindu people. We're focusing on anyone and everyone because everyone is part and parcel of Krishna. So we encourage everyone, although it's harder to get a Western person who has no background to take up Krishna consciousness, but everyone's suffering, and everyone looks for answers to life, and that we have the answers to, and that is attractive to people if they're fortunate enough to dive into it a little bit and become inquisitive. So.
Yes, Prabhuji. I mean, I'm not. I mean, I'm just stating a fact. And then after this, I won't talk because I think we are ending with time. Is that in Christianity, like we see a lot of Indians, like you mentioned, are converting and are converting it to Christianity in India also. Is basically they provide food, shelter. They to people who don't, the have-nots mostly. And so for however Krishna consciousness is talking about the long perspective of life after death, and more from the soul perspective. So I think it's more satisfying here.
Well, Krishna consciousness is for intelligent people. It's not. You have to be a bit intelligent to understand Krishna consciousness. It's a deep philosophy. I mean, even if you're not intelligent, you can chant Hare Krishna, just like that uneducated, illiterate Brahmana who couldn't read the Bhagavad Gita, but he was a great devotee. But yeah, people that convert, in the early days, they converted to Islam before there was, a lot had to do with the caste system. A lot had to do with oppression from the upper castes. And Prabhupada mentions this, that this was one of the problems, that the Brahmanas exploited their position. The Brahmana is supposed to be liberal and help people and distribute knowledge, not consider everyone untouchable and I can't deal with them. So Prabhupada came to America to the most untouchable people, the Western people who are doing everything and anything, eating the cow, drinking alcohol, you name it, they're doing it. And he made them devotees because Krishna is for everyone, and everyone can become purified. So Christianity in India, like you said, they offer material benefits, and if you're poor and have nothing, it looks attractive. But they're not taking up Christianity out of deep philosophical understanding. It's strictly, they have good schools. Even Prabhupada went to Scottish Church College in Calcutta. He went to a Christian college. They have good education system, and they have a welfare system to help people. And that attracts poor people who have nothing. Of course, Krishna consciousness, we have food distribution, prasadam distribution in India. Prabhupada said no one should go hungry. All our temples distribute prasadam, but it is for intelligent people who ultimately can understand the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita, or at least they can chant. So everyone can chant Hare Krishna. Prabhupada said in the beginning, I didn't have any rules and regulations. When he came to America and he started his movement there in New York, he said, I did not introduce too many rules and regulations. I said, just chant, take prasadam, and gradually you'll become purified. And when you become purified, then you can understand some proper lifestyle, proper restrictions. So.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Very nice. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So maybe we're ending now. Up to the director of the class.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you so much for this lecture class.
Mhm.
Such a wonderful explanation and so nice things you shared, and question answer session too. So we are so fortunate to have you on call today. So please give your association regularly, Prabhuji, once a month at least, so that we can have your guidance.
I couldn't hear that. Repeat that one more time. The last thing you just said.
Is that okay if you can give us your association every month, like once a month?
Yeah.
At least?
Just ask me.
Yes.
Especially if I think this particular class someone canceled, so because it was like last minute.
Yeah.
I'm happy to fit in there whenever.
Yeah. Okay, then we are booked until June, and then I will schedule you around July and August, so that Rupini Padma Mataji can send you the dates and you can choose your dates.
All right. Yeah, it's important to hear from us old devotees because I'm 72 now. I joined when I was 16. So anyone who's a Prabhupada disciple is old. So we say time marches on. And we have a lot of history and experience of the early days and what it was like. And, new people, they may have the philosophy, but they don't have that experience. So something special we can share.
Yes, Prabhuji, that's totally true, Prabhuji. So that's why we need your association more. So if no one has any question or comment.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for your wonderful association.
Yes.
And we'll definitely would like to have you every month, at least once, what Shamarasika mentioned. So please, even Ram Tulsi Mataji can speak once.
Yeah.
So it will help us to get
she
associated.
was excited, but she had something going on this morning. Yeah, she's a good speaker. She's
Yes, Prabhuji.
So people ask me, this is kind of a joke, but people ask me, you stay married so long? I say, number one reason, I don't cook. Wife is good cook. Number two, wife is good devotee. So, what more do you want? Good cook, good devotee.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's all you need in life. Of course, a man and woman, there's always something sometimes, but Prabhupada said, don't take that very seriously.
Yeah.
As long as both people are trying to be Krishna conscious and please the spiritual master and please Krishna,
Yeah.
That's our keeps us.
Yes, next time we need Mataji also.
So we had so many questions. So I don't have any question, but we can talk sometimes when we meet.
Sure, whenever you see me.
Temple. Yeah. Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
All right, everyone.
Hare Krishna. Let's pay obeisances to all the Vaishnavas. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, His Grace Anuttama Prabhu ki jai. All goes to somebody devotees ki jai. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hari Bol. Hari Bol. Hari Bol.
All right, everyone. Thank you for giving me your time. Hare Krishna. Okay.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for everything, class and question answers. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.